Love on the High Seas, a serialized gay romance taking place on the Caribbean cruise liner, the Majestic Star. Follow along with me as I take everyone on an epic adventure with love, murder, and mystery. Penned by Ryland Mason, narrated by me, Brian Shepard.
Episode 5, Chance. Everyone is to sit down and shut up, now, the tall guy with the gun said, as he stood in front of the stage. All guns were pointed at the passengers as they began to take their seats. Whimpers could still be heard from nervous people. This can't be happening. In the middle of the Panama Canal, of all places. I looked at Joey, who had a mix of confusion and anger on his face. Captain Webb, right up front. Up, on your feet, now, the gunman ordered, and I grabbed his arm. I'm scared. Yet he got up, but not before whispering, "Everything will be okay." "What is the meaning of this? Who are you, and why are you doing this?" he asked the gunman, whose only response was to laugh in Joey's face. "I ask the questions. You only answer. Now shut it," he said as one of the men opened the door to let someone in. A man came walking down the aisle, but not before smiling and noticing Jack and Christopher sitting in the row behind us. Cassius. "Hello, Jack. Christopher, a pleasure as always. I believe you have something I want, and unless I get it, people will die on this ship. That would be horrible if you ask me," he laughed. Only a madman would laugh at something terrible. "Captain, I would hope for your sake that your friend here cooperates and gives me what I want. Or else, I'm afraid. My men are trigger-happy," Cassius said with a grin. "Okay, I really don't like this guy. This is going to be my last cruise." "You must be Cassius St. James. Whatever you're looking for, you won't find it on the ship. Not very smart to be holding up a ship in the middle of the Panama. They won't let it leave the lake," Joey said calmly. Again, Cassius just laughed in his face. "Oh, Captain, your ship will leave the canal and on schedule. I have men all over the ship, so no surprises. Now, Jack, be a good boy and tell me where the crown is, so no one has to die." I turned my head to the right as I could see Jack sitting next to Christopher. Poor Chris. He must be just as worried as I was, as he was holding onto Jack's hand. "I have no idea what you're talking about. The crown is on the way to the museum," Jack replied, which was the wrong response, as Cassius nodded to the gunman, and then he pointed and shot a man sitting in our row. Just shot him point blank. No warning, nothing. Not good, as I got more anxious in my seat. As Joey looked back at me, I could see the worry in his eyes. "Captain, Jack here doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Be a good captain and tell your friend to give me what I want, or more will die," he finished as he again nodded to the gunman, and he pointed and shot yet another passenger in the row behind me. That's when Cassius must have noticed Joey looking at me. "Oh, this is going to be even better. You," he said, looking dead at me. "Get up, now." I was reluctant at first, yet when you have a gun pointed at your head, you have to fight with your brain to move your body, as it was scared and did not want to get out of the chair. I could see the worry on Joey's face when I was grabbed and stood in front of Cassius. This is it. I'm going to die. "Jack, you wouldn't want the captain's boyfriend here to end up with a hole in his head, would you?" "I suggest you take me to the Crown," he said as his goon took a hold of my arm and we walked up the aisle. Joey tried to follow. "Not so fast, Captain. You are to stay here. Don't worry about the ship, as we have it all under control. I would also advise you to keep your nose clean while I'm gone. The easier this goes, the quicker we can move on to better things. I would also hate for anything to happen to, what's your name?" looking at me, which at first I didn't answer, until he grabbed my face and turned it towards him, forcefully, I might add, which had Joey moving towards me again, until the gun pointed at him stopped him. "Chance," I answered. "Chance. We are going to have some fun, you and I," he said as he patted my cheek. "Now, move. Jack, you as well. Oh, and Captain, like I said, keep that nose of yours clean, and no one else has to die. No heroics," he warned him as he walked out the door and onto the deck. Not sure where we were going, but I had a good chance that it was going to be Jack and Christopher's room. Flanked by two guys in suits with guns, we proceeded to deck 7. We made our way to Jack's cabin. Using his key card, we entered the room. "Now, where is it? And no games, Jack," he said as we both stood there looking at each other. Jack went over to the closet and knelt down to open the room's safe. Inside was a black velvet-looking bag. Handing it over to Cassius, who immediately opened it, just to make sure. With a nasty grin on his face, Cassius must have been satisfied, as he motioned for us to leave the room. "Cassius, this isn't like you. Are you in so much trouble that you have to resort to killing people all for a crown?" Jack asked, as if to try to reason with him. "Oh, Jack, sometimes you have to take drastic measures in either to get maximum results. I am sorry for the way things turned out, yet I got what I needed, so it all worked out." Good try, Jack. I had a feeling he really didn't care. We made our way back to the theater. Along the way, you could see men standing around with guns. This had to be planned, as there were no passengers anywhere to be seen. We were also still crossing the lake and would still have to go through the locks before hitting the open sea. The doors were opened before us, and we walked inside. Nervous passengers moved in their seats at the sight of Cassius returning. I could see Christopher's face, as it looked as if though he was relieved to see Jack again. However, the bag in Cassius's hands explained the angry look. I was pushed and ultimately shoved back into my seat next to Joey, who was quick to take my hand and ask me if I was all right. Of course, I nodded and went to tell him what I saw until Cassius spoke up. "All right, Captain, it seems like my trip is almost over. In a few hours, we'll be in open sea. So I suggest everyone get comfortable, as no one's leaving." Smiling, he then walked back out of the theater. It had been a few hours as we all just sat there in our seats. Joey and I would whisper back and forth, of course giving glances to Justin and Eric, just as a way to check in, as they wouldn't let us speak. We noticed that the ship seemed to stop and then move again. It had done that a few times, and that's when Joey explained that we must be going through the locks. A total of 5 hours had passed since this all began, and people were getting antsy. I know I was. I really wanted out of this chair. My butt was numb. The doors burst open, and of course, that's when Cassius returned. "Captain, it's been a pleasure, yet it's time for me to go, I'm afraid. The ship is yours once we make it off. Although, good luck. The weather report says a hurricane is heading this way. I'd hate to be stuck in that." He finished with that nasty grin, again, which I would have loved to have knocked right off his face. "Jack, Christopher, Again, it was nice seeing you. Sorry I have to run. On second thought, Christopher, why don't you walk me out for old time's sakes? He said as Christopher looked with worry at Jack. Come on, I don't have all day. You stay, Jack, he said as Christopher reluctantly got up from his seat and started to walk up out the doors. The men with guns followed, and we were left alone. No one moved, however. That was until we heard a gun go off outside the doors. Jack was the first to start running towards the doors, yelling for Christopher as he tried to open them. You could feel the ship turning, sharply I might add, as some were trying to hold on or be knocked over. Joey and Jack both tried opening the doors, which of course they had no luck, as I'm sure they did something to prevent us from opening them. It took about another 20 minutes before they were able to free the doors open. That's when Jack noticed Christopher sitting against the railing, wet as it was raining, mixed with blood that was coming from his shoulder. Chris, can you hear me? Come on, babe, wake up. I'm awake. The jerk shot me. I can't believe he shot me. Oh, wait, yes, I can. It hurts, Jack, like bad, he said while flinching as he was trying to get up. Jack was right there to help him, and then was instructed to take him down to medical. Joey was scrambling to find crew members and to have them escort passengers back to their cabins, as he had to make his way to the bridge. We needed to find out where we were going and how bad it was going to be. We finally made it to the bridge as the ship pitched and rolled. The sea was getting angry. Most of the crew were back at their stations, if they weren't dead. Some not present, as Joey was getting reports from all over the ship that crew members and more passengers were found dead. All this just for a crown. The ship seemed to be heading back out to open sea. In the wrong direction, it seemed. Navigation had the ship cutting across the Caribbean Sea. From what the weather reports indicate, the hurricane would slam into Puerto Rico and continue on a path right at us. Either way, the storm would have hit us, even if we were on our way to Belize. Cassius just moved our timetable up. Andrews, instruct the crew to batten down and prepare the ship for critical weather. Perkins, I need you to radio our position to Panama. Time to make a course correction and see if we can't ride this out. Also, keep your eye on the storm. If it moves, we move. Joey gave the instructions with ease, as I would have been in a panic mode, which I am right now. He then moves over to the phone and picks it up. Engine room, this is the captain. Do I still have a chief down there? Wait, say again. Just then, Eric and Justin step onto the bridge. Eric, how is it your chief engineer is in my engine room? Hold that thought. Yes, Chief Gunner. I agree. Slow us by 5 knots. Thank you, sir. I will indeed. A few of my crew took the journey as a vacation. Chief Gunner, and I believe I saw my cruise director helping Andrews take deck furniture off the decks. What kind of weather are we facing here, Captain? Eric asked as he stared out the windows. He was seeing what I was seeing. Waves that started to wash over the bow. What crew was left in different areas of the ship have all checked in. Passengers are now in their cabins. That's when Joey walked over to the intercom to make a general announcement. Attention, this is the captain. Passengers and crew should brace for bad weather. The ship is sealed and locked down. Our course has been altered to try to ride out the storm. However, the storm has intensified, so I expect very rough seas. The ship is built for this type of weather, yet we are being cautious. More updates coming soon. After giving the orders, I could tell he had a lot on his mind. I remember Justin telling me that Eric needs to be clear-minded when in command. He says it makes for a quicker response time and quick thinking. Batten down the hatches. I get it, but what does it entail? I asked. We've all heard the saying. Time to find out what it means. That, and to clear his mind of worry. Clever man. Batten down is where all vents, hatches, and doors are closed and secured to prevent water from getting into the ship. He then points to the front of the ship, out the big glass windows. Watch the water roll over the bow, he said, as I looked. The waves would rise and hit the bow with force, causing a lot of water to wash over. See what I mean? That's a lot of water that we don't need getting into the ship and causing more headaches. At the sight of that, I turned to Justin, who was standing in the back. Justin, I don't know about you, but I refuse to get into a lifeboat, and I know you don't like them either. Why is this happening on our cruise? Are we cursed? I would rather stay with Joey than be out there, I said as I looked out the window. Waves were getting larger. Where Eric goes, I go. We'll be fine. I trust Joey to get us through this, he said, as he must have known Eric would stay as well. Well, I figured I would stand with Justin in the back and out of the way. There was a grab bar on the wall next to me, so at least I had something other than Justin to hold on to. Eric helped with engine controls. They had a plan, and now we just needed to make sure that it would work. He would need a lot of concentration if he was going to maneuver the ship, as things really did not look good.